Okay, hi everyone. I'm here to talk to you tonight about working interculturally. We need better ways of working together. We need better ways to understand each other. We need better ways to learn from each other. We need better ways to respect and work alongside each other. We need better ways just to get the work done. And we can't build sustainable and positive futures based on our current arrangements of operating, our current ways of engaging with other cultures. That's not leaving us a foundation for us to build sustainable and positive futures. So working interculturally provides us an opportunity to see how we can look at the engagement and interaction of cultures in a new way, in a way that will see them not only in terms of the opportunity where they work side by side, but in ways that can point us towards innovation ways, and ways that can also remind us of the histories and the long memories and deep memories of our cultures as they work and try to work together. So working interculturally is an opportunity for us to be more strategic, to be more clear, to be more purposeful in the way that we work together as cultures. But it doesn't just look at cultures in the context of where they might be. For example, we see here in Alice Springs and in the Northern Territory and many other parts of Australia that we have the remaining challenge of how do we work better together as Aboriginal and other Australians. And so the idea of working interculturally might immediately be focused on that kind of context. But working interculturally can be applied to many other cultures and actually can be looked at wherever you've got the necessity to work across difference, where you have competing ideas, where you have a competing sense of what it means to know, what it means to be, and how do you work together. So working interculturally allows a framework for us to look at that. But before we delve too deeply into this intercultural framework or an intercultural framework, I've got to just get some terms out of the way so that we don't start to dwell on them and become sidetracked. So there's kind of 3 terms I just want to have a look at, but then quickly pack them away. The first one is the actual term intercultural. For some people, intercultural really, for them it means the way that you understand your culture and the way you understand someone else's culture. And so you get a better understanding of where you're coming from and where they're coming from, and you're able to work together. Now, I see this more as cross-cultural competency, but that's one of the ways that intercultural is being used. So, but when I refer to intercultural, I'm talking more about the interaction, the intertwining, intermingling, the messy kind of stuff around how we try and work together, and how I can honour and appreciate that there are different cultural spaces, some for learning, some for sharing, some for working, and some for us to actually remove ourselves from the work together, and there's some for us to get into the work together and to innovate together. So the intercultural way that I use it is much more than just me understanding mine and you understanding yours. So the second term that we need to just look at and then pack away is the term culture itself. Culture can mean many things for many people. For some people, culture, when they talk about culture, they can talk about it in a light-hearted manner, and they can kind of throw it away and chuck it around, and it's nothing really. But for others, culture can be very serious and sacred, and something you have to treat very carefully. It can mean many things to people. It can also be significant in many different ways, and it can change. Culture is an evolutionary concept, and it can change without notice. It has many, many different expressions. So when we talk about culture, it could be a very useful conversation. Well, what do I mean about culture? What do you mean about culture? And what do you mean? And we could facilitate that kind of dialogue, and it'd be very useful, productive. It'd be a great conversation, but that's not for tonight. So there's the culture term. It's related to what we're talking about. Let's just pack that away. And the third term is identity. It's like culture's cousin, if you like, because identity is related to what we're talking about tonight, but identity, again, means many things to many people. For some people, identity is again so important and central to their existence. And for others, it's like, well, what? It's just me. I don't know what you're talking about. And for some people, identity is something you can acquire. You can become this kind of person because you have bought the things, or you have attained that, or you have become this. For others, it's like, no, if you're going to talk about identity, you have to be born and bred. This is it, you were born into this. But tonight, we're not going to delve into the conversation around, oh, let's talk about identity. It'd be useful, it'd be great, it'd be nice, but it's not. It's related to us, so let's pack that away. What we are going to concern ourselves with is how this complex idea around cultures trying to work together and trying to work better together, trying to innovate together and find new ways of working together, how can that work? How can we build sustainable, positive futures if we can't even wrestle with the sense of cultural knowledge and identity and belonging? Because it all becomes too messy because we're like, well, she's not from here, he's not from here, I don't understand where they're coming from, let's just call it off. So let's take a look at a cultural framework, or the cultural framework that we're using in our leadership programs. This cultural framework can be used as a tool to do a couple of things. It can be used as a tool to help us gain greater clarity. It can help us gain greater clarity because we can be clearer about the cultural space that we are working in and the cultural space that others are operating in. It's like, okay, I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to achieve this in the work that I'm doing working with other cultures. I notice that they're trying to do that. So you can have greater clarity about where we are and where others are. The intercultural framework can also provide greater, can be used as a tool to provide greater strategy. Strategy from the point of view that we can actually be more purposeful and intentional about the work that we do, because we know the kind of cultural outcome we're seeking in the work with others. Are we trying to create an opportunity where we get a better pragmatic outcome, or are we trying to create an opportunity where we can have cultures go back and learn their history? Or are we actually trying to create another space where we sit down and learn from another culture? What's the cultural outcome we're looking for in our working with others? So this kind of framework can be used as a tool to help us gain greater strategy in the work that we do. And finally, this kind of tool, the intercultural framework, can be used as a tool to help us with navigation. Navigation because it can develop a common language that we can start to use in a way of saying, now I realise that we're wanting to start off here. We're wanting to develop new ways of working together, and all of a sudden our conversation drifted into cultural heritage and ancient ideas around where we come from. How does that relate to where we were, and what are we going to do about that? So it can allow us to have the common language to talk about our cultural interactions. So let's have a look at this framework. The circles here represent cultural learning spaces or cultural sharing spaces or cultural working spaces. These are spaces where cultures are either working on their own or they're working with others. So we're going to look at the ones on the outside. So the deep purple spaces, we'll start there. The deep purple spaces refer to deep memory, worldview, and mythologies. This is where cultures access that deep memory, that part of them that goes way back into their long history, their long memory, and it allows them to tell legends, tell stories, tell mythologies that relate to their current reality. This is where you get the ideas of people saying, these are our cultural characteristics, this is who we are and why we do, because way back when this happened. And so when you have cultures telling stories that are more ancient, cultures that are telling stories that go deep back into their memory, that's what that space is for. And it's a space where cultures really learn about their longevity and their long history, their long memory. A pilgrimage survives in this kind of space, because on a pilgrimage you're walking the path of those who walked before you for a greater purpose than you just getting some exercise. You can go to a treadmill for that sort of stuff. So the deep purple space is for deep memory. Then we move into those blue spaces, the two blue circles. Those spaces are for cultural expression, cultural participation, performance. This is where we do the things, participate in the things that help define us. So we create activities, we go to festivals, we participate in festivals, we sing our songs, we eat our foods, we speak our languages, we dance our dances and we teach it to those who are younger, because we want to maintain our sense of belonging, our sense of identity. We want to do it so that people know who we are, and so that we can also teach each other and be stronger in our sense of identity. Now, some of these blue spaces are held by a strong boundary and some are held by a kind of open boundary. An example of a strong boundary is a Pacific Women's Weaving Circle, recently set up in Melbourne. A Pacific Women's Weaving Circle is for Pacific Island women to come together and weave. It has quite a strong boundary to it. But you'd be surprised how many non-women, non-Pacific, and non-weavers actually want to be part of that. Because they can see that there's something there about these women coming together to strengthen their sense of belonging and navigate and find their own way, what it means to be a Pacific Island woman in Australia and to have a sense of shared identity. But some activities in this space help us to get a sense of identity and who we are, but it's a very open boundary. So we will say, yes, please, come and have a look at us. We're doing this thing, and this is who we are, and this is how we be, and we want you to come and see us. We welcome everyone to come and look. And so what we will do is we will have a boat race on a dry riverbed, and we will do that, and we want everyone to come and see, right? So we want everyone to come and see us, we want everyone to come and see the Camel Cup, we want everyone to come and see the stuff that we do that defines us. This is Alice Springs, and this is the way we roll. And so that's a very open boundary to it, but that is a blue space. That's a space that defines the culture and the characteristics of belonging here. The red space, as we move in, the red space is a space where you teach and where you have the capability to impart knowledge around your culture to others. So it's a space of learning, it's a space of being able to say, this is my culture and this is who we are and what we do. So it's not just, hey, look at our festival, it's actually, now I'm going to teach you why, I'm going to teach you how, I'm going to teach you what to do. And so one culture is being able to teach the other. The centre space is where the intercultural space, this is where cultures are really trying to craft a way together. In the yellow space there, that's a space where it's very pragmatic. It's like a joint venture, it's side by side, it's all about us doing and us being able to produce. So we know enough about each other to just get the job done. So that's where I know enough and respect enough, and you know and respect enough, and we're able to just do our work together. But there's no paradigm shift, there's no challenge or change to power. It's just we know enough to get our work done, and we're actually working side by side together to do this work. But that green space is the kind of space that we need. That green space is the innovation intercultural space. There we're actually really trying to challenge conventions, we're trying to change the status quo, we're trying to upset the balance of power, we're trying to find new ways, new traditions, new practices that will have part of my culture and part your culture, and we might discover something new. It's very creative, but it's a costly space. There's a cost that's associated with the creativity and innovation, and that cost is I need to let go of stuff. I need to let go of my long-held understandings of tradition and culture. I have to loosen my grip on power. I have to be able to be free enough and be open enough to hear some new words, hear some new ideas, and actually then start to imagine some new ways forward as well. So it might be a nice idea to say innovation, but there's also a cost to going into that space as well. And it can be really unnerving when you start to release a bit of control on the sense of power and your sense of belonging. But if we're going to build sustainable and positive futures, we need to be prepared to move into that kind of space. So it seems to me that we have a threefold quest in front of us. The first part of the quest is that we need to see that all of these spaces are valuable, and all of these spaces require us to be able to say, this is a great place for people to do work. But we become unstuck when we're at cross purposes. I thought I was doing the innovation work, and you're here because you just want to learn from me. Or I thought I was doing the, I thought I was going off to build my sense of cultural identity and security and safety, and you're wanting me to sit down and do some pragmatic work together. I'm not sure what we're doing here. So when you're able to see the validity of this, we're able to talk about it in a way that we don't get confused by our purpose any longer. So that's the first part of the quest. The second part of the quest is we need to assist those fellow Australians who find it difficult to connect with the blue and the deep purple spaces, because that part is important for us to gain a level platform in being able to share cultures with each other, when we are able to understand our long and deep memory, our history. And finally, our third part of the quest. If we are serious about trying to build positive and sustainable futures, we need to be prepared to count the cost of moving into innovation. We need to be prepared to look to that space and be prepared to move into that space. Otherwise, building sustainable futures will be just something of a platitude. Thanks.